Snyder. I am our Business Impact Director. So what that means is I head up our strategic methodology at the agency. And I also get to work across all of the teams on all of our fabulous client programs to find new and better and more innovative ways to make them convert.
And I'm Janessa Seewald. I'm an account director at 90octane, and I'm really responsible. Thanks for the shout out. I'm responsible for guiding the strategic direction of our clients and making sure that my team, which we call ourselves GFAB, manage and execute to that strategy to really meet our clients' business goals.
And we are here to talk with you today about the Lead Gen Summit. So this was put on by Marketing Sherpa. It was out in San Francisco, and we actually had the pleasure of going with one of our clients, GFAB. What it focused on was for B2B and B2C marketers, really focused on that complex sale. And it followed everything from lead capture through to the actual sales handoff. So at 90, and as for many of you in the audience, that's generally what we refer to as funnel marketing. So, lots of different ways to look at the funnel, obviously. You go out and do a Google image search. These are just a few of the things that you're going to find. You've got everything from, not that, this button, through your traditional, through to some nice yin, yogi transition. A nice little maze up here. This is actually from Forrester Research. And they even presented a new one at the conference, not new, but another variation, this kind of inverted funnel that had 3 different components. The 3 components were really capture, qualify, and nurture. So the whole conference was really based around those 3 themes, and different tracks was very case study driven, so big case studies from some of the companies that you've already seen here tonight, like SAP, Adobe, very data driven, very tactically deep. So while we could spend all of our time debating which funnel is best and who thinks what on that matter, it doesn't really matter, because what we came away with from the conference was regardless of what funnel you ascribe to, there are takeaways that are really going to help you get to an end goal that we all share. That end goal is creating long-term, mutually beneficial relationships between our companies and our prospects or customers. A few key terms in here: long-term. Number 1, with a complex sale, it's generally going to take a little bit longer to get them in the door, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive too, so it's imperative that we do a good job keeping them in once they're there. Mutually beneficial, we want the product, as you've kind of heard throughout tonight, it has to be a mutual fit both ways, and when it is, then it's actually more beneficial for us as companies. So there were 3 main takeaways outside of the funnel that really transcend, that can help you reach this goal, and that's what we're here to share with you tonight. Those 3 key takeaways are: be valuable, be good at communicating that value, know where your relationship stands, and operate through your customer's eyes.
So starting with the first key takeaway, it's really to be valuable and be good at communicating that value, or which ultimately is referred to as a value proposition. I'm sure most of you have heard value proposition before, but really looking at the definition from Marketing Sherpa, a value proposition is a promise of value to be delivered. It answers the question, if I'm your ideal prospect, why should I be interested in your product over any other product or service? That's pretty wordy and hard to remember, but really if you simplify it even more, it's assuring that you're offering something that nobody else can in this one and very important area, and your prospect gets it. The problem is, based off of this quote from Marketing Sherpa, our prospects, our customers aren't getting it. They're not understanding, we're not communicating that value. So really, how do we solve that? You can see on this next slide, Marketing Sherpa at the conference, they really focused on this model. The top model is really the path of our customers. They start with the channel, go to the presentation, and ultimately end up at your product. And the importance of having value in each of those places you interact with your customer is huge. You really want to make sure that within your channel or your tactics, your value proposition is in your headline, is in your pay-per-click copy, that your value proposition is in your presentation, so your website or your landing page, and that your product is valuable. But really, we should be starting with the product first. As marketers, we actually get it wrong a lot of the times. We start with the channel, we go to the presentation, and we really focus on that. But we really need to work backwards the opposite way. Once we do that, then the goal of the presentation is to really clarify the message and to not have to persuade them. So it really goes back to even what Rosemary was talking about with just making sure you have valuable content and that your product is something that the consumer wants.
Key takeaway 2, know where your relationship stands. So to us, this is lead scoring. Another wonderful marketing Sherpa definition for you. Lead scoring is a responsive mathematical approach to assessing the intensity of a particular lead. It's intended to prioritize human touch, not replace it. And we think that last part was really put on just for our sales friends in the room. But
and
that
it's kind of boring.
is true.
It's kind of boring.
So if we boil it down again, really what this is saying is the better fit you are for us, and the more you're showing your interest in us via engagement, the higher score we're going to give you. So it's really, the higher number you get, the more likely you're going to get to our sales team. This is an interesting one. You look at this stat down here, 64% of marketers send leads directly to sales without a qualification process. This is a current stat from Marketing Sherpa. So this really highlights a conundrum we see quite often within marketing organizations, and that's that sales wants more leads. They're very hungry. They want more leads. They want more leads. They want more volume. We can create volume. We pass that volume over. It's not the best volume. That's where lead scoring really comes in. It helps us to still create the volume, but withhold it from sales until it's ready to convert. When we talk about how you do that, Marketing Sherpa, again, very detailed. We went really deep. They talked about lead scoring from multiple categories, from a relationship standpoint through to what do we pull out of Salesforce.com, what's in marketing automation, how do we synthesize all of this data. But really, at the end of the day, what we're looking at is what's an A or a D? What's going to go to sales? What are we going to keep? There are easy ways to look at that. So we've kind of taken what they talked about at the conference and separate it by really implicit and explicit. Implicit meaning, what are they doing? How are they saying, hey, we're engaged and pass us over, we're ready to talk about having a partnership with you. And what can we determine from their registration form or from their company information that tells us they're actually a good fit for us? So just a quick list of potential things to look at. These are pretty regularly tracked marketing program elements. And then outside of that, the top key takeaway for this section is really you need to engage sales for this process first too. We can come up with our own lead scoring models, but at the end of the day, sales is really our customer. So we need to make sure what we're passing over is going to be good for them too.
And the final takeaway, we're almost done, is to operate through your customer's eyes or empathy. It actually relates to the human story that Sean talked about and more to what Rosemary talked about. And really when we think of empathy, it seems a little touchy-feely to be in marketing, but you guys are all really crowded, probably a little touchy-feely right now with each other. Hope not. But if you really look at the definition, when we look at it in terms of marketing, empathy is the marketer's ability to discern by hearing and listening the nature of the customer, or even taking that down a little further. You walk in the customer's shoes, and they get by how you communicate that you're walking in their shoes. And really, by listening, we're able to give them specific things that they're looking for. And one thing based off of what Pardot says is that 77% of our customers want specific content in each stage of the buying process, in each stage of the funnel. So if we're listening and walking in our customer's shoes, then we should be able to offer them that specific content in each of those stages. And as we've heard today, content is king. So how do we do this? These are just some of kind of the checks and balances to make sure that you really are listening to that customer. As I've said, providing content specifically for their questions and their needs. Staying solution focused and not shouting from the rooftops, me, me, me. Yes, it's great you've been in business for 20 years and that your product is the coolest, but really, what does that mean for the customer? Showing the understanding of their problem, really it ties to what keeps them up at night. How can you really solve that? And again, it is starting with the product, again, tying back to value proposition, and really just walking through those customers' shoes. So
outside of very detailed case studies and very thorough definitions, What we took away from how to create a long-term mutually beneficial relationship was number one, be valuable via the value proposition. That means knowing your product, but more importantly, knowing how to communicate the value of your product to your customer. Know where your relationship stands. Utilize something like lead scoring. Engage your sales team first. Talk at a very high level about what that means, what's going to be successful for them, and then operate through your customer's eyes. Again, very big theme, obviously, here tonight is content and what do we need to really resonate and show them that we understand what makes them tick. So thank you for your time.